You know that feeling when you're watching a classic rescue movie
Oh, sure.
and there's this expectation of like profound relief?
Right, the cavalry arrives.
Exactly. The monster is slain, the hero extends a hand, the swelling music
And
plays.
everyone goes home.
Right. The survivors get to go home. Good conquers evil. It's clean.
It is. It's a very satisfying narrative.
It's a victory you can celebrate. And I think it reinforces this deeply ingrained idea we all have uh, that our protectors are fundamentally there to bring us back to the light.
Yeah, we really rely on that narrative, don't we?
We absolutely do.
The idea of the noble guardian standing between civilization and the darkness. I mean, that's foundational to almost every culture's mythology.
I'm sure.
It provides this psychological safety net for us.
But then you step into the world of today's deep dive.
And that safety net is gone.
Completely gone.
Yeah.
Suddenly that entire rescue narrative is just utterly shattered.
Yeah, it really is.
We are looking at a defensive landscape today that defies, just every conventional idea of heroism.
It forces you to rethink what protection even means.
So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking you into a universe where the supposed heroes might just be as frightening and, in some ways, as destructive as the villains they fight.
Which is a terrifying concept.
It really is. Our source material today is a fascinating, incredibly dense text called Excerpts from the Aegis of Titan, Guardians Against the Demonic.
It's a heavy read.
Very heavy. And our mission for you on this deep dive is to explore the ultimate paradox of what the text calls the Imperium's most secret defenders.
The Grey Knights?
The Grey Knights, exactly. We're going to dissect what it actually means to be a weapon of absolute purity in a universe defined by absolute horror.
And the price of that purity.
Right, the terrifying, almost incomprehensible price of keeping humanity in what the source chillingly calls an ignorant peace.
I love that phrase, ignorant peace.
Haunting.
It really is, because the text forces a complete reevaluation of defense itself.
Yeah.
It presents a scenario where survival and morality are, well, they're no longer compatible concepts,
Right.
and where the act of protection requires acts of unimaginable atrocity.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to even begin to understand how the Grey Knights operate, we have to look at what they actually are.
Right, the baseline.
Yeah, and why they are kept so deeply in the shadows, away from the very people they protect.
Exactly.
So the text describes them as a specific chapter of Space Marines, the Adeptus Astartes.
Which is a big deal in this setting.
Right. If you're familiar with this setting, you might think of Space Marines as the ultimate, highly visible soldiers.
The poster boys.
Exactly. Towering, genetically modified super warriors in brightly colored armor, heralded as angels of death.
They want you to see them coming.
Right. But the source immediately clarifies that the Grey Knights are not simply that.
No, they are something else entirely.
The text calls them the Imperium's ultimate last-ditch weapon against the apocalypse.
And the phrasing last-ditch weapon there fundamentally alters their categorization.
How so?
Well, a standard military force, even an elite one, like a regular Space Marine chapter, is deployed to win wars.
Sure. To conquer territory.
Right, or to hold a defensive line. But a last-ditch weapon,
That's different.
very different. That's what you use when the defensive line has already collapsed.
Oh, wow.
When the territory is lost and conventional victory is just mathematically impossible.
So things are already at their worst.
Exactly. It implies a force designed to operate in the absolute worst-case scenario.
And that worst-case scenario is explicitly defined by their enemy.
Right.
The text names them as demon hunters.
Not just soldiers, demon hunters.
Yeah. They are the chamber militant of the Ordo Malleus.
The Inquisition.
Right, the military and investigative wing of the Inquisition tasked specifically with combating infernal foes.
Which is a horrifying job description.
I can't even imagine. We're not talking about fighting an opposing empire with different political views here.
No border disputes.
Or like a biological alien swarm looking for resources. Their single terrifying purpose is the complete annihilation of chaos.
The literal physical manifestation of the demonic.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is the operational doctrine that is inevitably born out of facing an enemy like that.
Because it can't be standard tactics.
Not at all. When your enemy is a conceptual, infernal horror, chaos itself, the text asserts that the common citizen of the Imperium is not even permitted to know it exists.
Which is wild to think about.
It is. The Grey Knights are the shield, yes.
Yes.
But they're a shield protecting humanity from a truth that is deemed too cognitively hazardous to comprehend.
So the premise is that knowledge itself is a vector for the disease.
Exactly.
That is the concept that really stopped me cold when I was reading this.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
It is. I'm trying to map this onto something we understand in our own world.
And what did you come up with?
Well, the closest analogy I could think of is a relentless computer firewall.
Okay, I like that.
But it's not a firewall that just, quarantines a corrupted file.
Right, it doesn't just put it in a safe folder.
No. It's a firewall programmed to permanently delete the user's entire hard drive.
Wow.
And maybe set the physical computer on fire, too.
Just to be sure.
Yeah, just to ensure a single piece of malware doesn't spread to the broader network.
The extremity of that protocol really speaks to the nature of the malware in this scenario.
Right.
The source material is suggesting that in this universe, the divide between thought and reality is porous.
I have to push back on the sheer scale of this logic, though.
Sure.
Or at least I want to ask you to walk us through the mechanics of it.
I can do that.
If they are the shield, why is the truth of the shield so intrinsically dangerous?
It comes down to the nature of the warp.
Because the text says they fight so humanity can live in ignorant peace.
Right.
Does the mere knowledge of chaos actively invite it in?
Essentially, yes.
Like, if you're a factory worker on some distant planet,
Yeah.
does just thinking about a demon act like a homing beacon?
Based on the ontological rules of the universe presented in the text, yes.
That is terrifying.
To understand ignorant peace, we really have to understand the nature of the immaterium.
Or the warp.
Right, the warp, which is where these demonic entities originate.
Okay.
The warp is described as a parallel dimension made entirely of psychic energy.
Just pure energy.
Yes. But crucially, that energy is shaped by the thoughts, emotions, and fears of sentient beings in the physical universe.
So we feed it.
Constantly. It's a massive galactic reflection of the collective unconscious.
So it's a realm where nightmares literally coalesce into physical forms.
Precisely. If 1 trillion humans feel profound despair, that despair pools in the warp.
And eventually gain sentience.
Exactly. It becomes a demonic entity of despair.
Oh, wow.
Therefore, if the general populace learns that demons are real,
That the universe is teeming with infernal horrors trying to devour their souls,
the resulting mass panic and terror would feed the warp exponentially.
it would create a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. The fear of the demonic would spawn more demons.
So the knowledge of corruption is, in itself, a corrupting agent,
You hit the nail on the head.
which completely reframes the concept of secrecy for me.
It changes everything.
They aren't hiding their operations to maintain a tactical advantage over the enemy like a modern stealth bomber.
No, stealth isn't the point.
They are hiding their operations because the human mind is the battlefield.
That's the crux of it.
If the human mind knows the war is happening, the enemy gets stronger.
Right.
This explains why the text explicitly states their story is not one of glory.
There's no glory in hiding.
There are absolutely no parades for the Grey Knights.
None at all.
You don't get a medal pinned on your chest while a crowd cheers.
The text calls it silent, desperate vigilance.
Silent and desperate.
Consider the psychological profile required for a soldier in that paradigm.
It must be intense.
A conventional military force thrives on morale, right?
Oh, yeah. Parades, medals, the whole thing.
On the recognition of their sacrifices, on the idea that they are building a legacy or defending a grateful homeland.
Yeah, that's what keeps troops going.
But the Grey Knights are stripped of all social reinforcement.
Completely isolated.
Their victories must remain entirely unrecorded.
If they do their job perfectly, no one will ever know they existed.
Think about that. They are fighting a war that can never truly be won.
Just all holding action.
Holding back an infinite tide in the absolute shadows, strictly so you, the citizen, can wake up tomorrow and go about your day.
Completely oblivious.
Completely oblivious to the fact that reality almost ended while you slept.
It is an incredibly bleak, isolated form of heroism.
Bleak is the perfect word for it.
You are the ultimate savior, but you're completely invisible to the saved.
And that systemic bleakness makes far more sense when we examine the historical origins of this chapter.
Let's get into that.
The desperate nature of their operational secrecy is a direct continuation of the desperate nature of their creation.
Let's dig into that creation because the text draws a very sharp distinction between the Grey Knights and all other Space Marine chapters.
It absolutely does.
It states that normal chapters were born from a Primarch's vision.
Right.
A Primarch being one of the genetic demigods created to lead humanity's armies.
A vision implies hope.
Yeah, a grand plan.
It implies structure, foresight, the building of a grand legacy,
Right.
and the creation of a lasting empire. It is a proactive stance.
But the Grey Knights.
The Grey Knights, conversely, were not born of a vision.
The text says they were a contingency plan,
Yes.
laid by the Emperor himself, forged in the final desperate days of the Horus Heresy.
Which is key.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because that phrase, final desperate days, fundamentally alters the framing of these warriors.
It certainly does.
We are not talking about a triumphant project launched at the height of humanity's golden
Yeah,
age.
the Golden Age was over.
We're talking about a literal doomsday protocol.
Exactly.
The Horus Heresy, as the lore dictates, was an apocalyptic civil war,
The worst the galaxy had ever seen.
where half the galaxy and half of the Emperor's own sons turned against him.
And embraced the very demonic forces we're talking about.
Right. The Emperor is watching his entire galactic dream burn to ash.
Everything he built.
The laws of physics are breaking down around him.
Reality itself is fracturing.
And in that moment of ultimate collapse, he decides to create one last weapon.
His final play.
The Grey Knights are effectively the physical embodiment of the Emperor's darkest hour.
I'd agree with that.
They are the manifestation of his ultimate paranoia.
Well, calling it paranoia might not capture the sheer pragmatism of the act.
You think he was just pragmatic?
Look at what the text calls them. The Emperor's final gift.
Right.
When a leader, especially one depicted with the godlike foresight of the Emperor, creates a contingency plan at the absolute bloody end of his reign.
It means the primary plan has catastrophically failed.
Exactly. The Grey Knights were not engineered to win a war of conquest.
They weren't meant to take territory.
No, they were engineered to survive an extinction-level event.
It's like building a reinforced fallout shelter while the nuclear bombs are literally detonating above your head.
That is a perfect analogy.
You aren't building it for comfort,
Right. Definitely not?
and you aren't building it for a bright future.
No.
You're building it for raw, ugly survival.
Just to keep the heartbeat going.
Yeah, you're throwing together whatever you have left just to ensure the species doesn't hit zero.
And to even survive as that kind of doomsday weapon against an enemy that defies physical laws,
You need something special.
their fundamental biology and capabilities had to be completely overhauled compared to standard troops.
Because normal bullets won't work.
Right. The enemy is immaterial, born of psychic resonance.
Okay.
Therefore, the weapon designed to fight them must also possess immense psychic capability.
Which brings us to the mechanics of how they actually fight.
The nuts and bolts of it.
Right. What makes them mechanically capable of engaging the demonic in a universe where conventional weapons are functionally useless?
The text has a specific term for this.
Yes, it calls their unique physiology and their defensive capabilities the Aegis.
The Aegis.
And this is where the lore becomes highly, terrifyingly specific.
It does.
The source notes that the Grey Knights are entirely unique among the Adeptus Astartes because every single battle brother is a potent psyker,
An entire standing army of psychic warriors.
which is unprecedented in this lore.
In the context of this universe, a psyker is someone who can tap into the warp.
That dimension of pure emotion and psychic energy we discussed earlier.
Right, and channel it to manipulate physical reality.
They cast spells, basically.
They can project kinetic shields, hurl fire, or crush a target with their mind.
The text lays out a massive, glaring paradox right there.
Oh, it's a huge paradox.
It states that this psychic ability is both their greatest weapon and their absolute greatest risk.
Yes.
It describes the individual knight as a fortress of will.
This raises an important question.
Go ahead.
If they are fighting the forces of chaos, and chaos intrinsically feeds on the mind, the soul, and psychic energy,
Right.
isn't actively using psychic powers the most dangerous tactical choice possible?
It seems like an incredible contradiction.
It really is.
How can you have an army of pure, supposedly incorruptible demon hunters who rely entirely on the very energy source that empowers their enemy?
It's a massive gamble.
It feels like trying to put out a massive chemical fire by spraying it with highly volatile aviation fuel.
That's exactly what it's like.
You are using the exact catalyst that could cause a planetary explosion to try and suffocate the flames.
And doing so requires absolute precision.
This absolute superhuman level of concentration just to keep from instantly igniting yourself.
And taking everyone around you down in the blast.
Yeah.
The aviation fuel analogy really highlights the razor-thin margin of error they operate under.
It must be stressful beyond belief.
Fighting chaos requires supernatural power. You cannot simply shoot a conceptual nightmare with a standard ballistic round.
It's not going to do anything.
You can't expect a permanent resolution from a bullet. You have to fight the immaterial with the immaterial.
So they have to use the warp.
They must reach into the warp to draw the power necessary to banish the demon.
But doing that is dangerous.
Unbelievably so. The moment a psyker opens their mind to the warp, they become visible to the entities that live there.
Like turning on a flashlight in a dark room full of predators.
Exactly. They become a beacon.
So they are opening a door into hell, just a crack.
Just a tiny sliver.
Reaching their hand in to grab a weapon.
Right.
And trying to pull it back out before the things on the other side can grab their arm.
Exactly that.
Wow.
And that is why the text uses the term fortress of will.
Okay.
Their primary defense mechanism isn't the physical titanium and ceramite of their armor.
It's not the physical metal.
No, it is their mental architecture.
How does that work?
Every single Grey Knight has to construct and maintain an impenetrable mental fortress at all times.
All times, even when sleeping.
Always. They undergo psychoconditioning, mind wipes, and rigorous spiritual trials.
It sounds brutal.
It breaks down their original personality and rebuilds it into an adamantine wall of faith and duty.
The psychological toll of that is staggering to think about.
It's unimaginable for a normal human.
Your own mind is a constant active battlefield.
Every second of every day.
If your willpower slips for a fraction of a millisecond,
Just a moment of weakness.
right, if you feel a moment of genuine fear or a spike of unbridled rage,
Or even a second of overwhelming doubt.
the very power you are channeling to destroy the demon could invite the demon into your own mind.
You become the door.
You become the vessel for the invasion you're trying to stop.
It demands a state of hypervigilance that defies human biology.
They really aren't human anymore, are they?
Not in any meaningful sense. They cannot experience normal emotional fluctuations.
No joy, no sorrow.
Every thought must be policed. Every instinct must be rigidly controlled.
Just constantly monitoring themselves.
The mental exhaustion of holding that posture, century after century.
Because they live a long time, right?
Very long. That is the true cost of the Aegis.
It makes you wonder how they even function as a cohesive military unit when every individual soldier is fighting a private war inside their own head.
It's a miracle they can coordinate at all.
The text touches on this when it details how they organize and weaponize this incredibly volatile nature to execute their missions.
They have a very specific structure.
It mentions they are organized into the Brotherhoods of Titan.
The Brotherhood structure is a departure from standard military organization.
How so?
It is described as being uniquely tailored for rapid response and surgical strikes.
So they aren't marching in formation.
No. Given the nature of a demonic incursion, you do not have time to mobilize massive, slow-moving armies.
Because the corruption spreads too fast.
Exactly. A demonic breach can consume a city in hours.
And a planet in days.
Right. The Grey Knights do not set up blockades.
They don't dig trenches.
They do not engage in protracted trench warfare. They are surgical instruments.
Designed to cut the head off the snake before the venom reaches the heart.
Very well put.
Surgical instruments armed with what the text calls the trappings of a demon hunter.
They're specialized gear.
But the source goes much deeper than just listing physical gear.
It does.
It says their weapons, their swords, their halberds, their stormbolters are as much psychic conduits as they are instruments of death.
A psychic conduit is a profound mechanical concept.
What does that actually mean in practice?
We need to visualize what is actually happening when a Grey Knight engages in close combat.
Okay, set the scene.
They are not merely relying on the physical sharpness of the blade.
Or the kinetic force of their swing.
No. The weapons, known in the lore as Nemesis Force weapons, are interlaced with psychically conductive crystalline circuitry.
That sounds incredibly advanced. So the weapon is literally plugging into their nervous system and their mind.
The weapon becomes a physical extension of their soul. When a Grey Knight strikes a demon, they are channeling their absolute conviction, their hatred of chaos, and their unbreakable willpower.
Down the shaft of the weapon.
And discharging it directly into the entity's immaterial form.
So the physical cut is just the delivery mechanism.
Exactly. The physical cut is just the delivery mechanism for the psychic annihilation.
Their minds are quite literally their ammunition.
It's a fascinating concept.
It loops right back to the Fortress of Will, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
When they swing a halberd, they are projecting the walls of their mental fortress outward to physically crush the enemy.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Imagine the discipline required to execute that.
It's beyond mortal comprehension.
You are staring down an infernal horror that defies geometry and physics.
A creature made of rotting flesh and screaming mouths?
Right. And your primary weapon isn't your gun.
No.
Your weapon is the absolute, unshakable certainty of your own mind.
You have to know you will win.
You have to believe in your own purity so absolutely that the belief itself acts as a lethal voltage.
And that absolute lethal certainty is precisely why they are so terrifyingly effective against the demonic.
They are purpose-built for it.
They are the perfect anathema to chaos. But having a force this hyper-specialized, this supernaturally potent, and this rigidly committed to the doctrine of absolute secrecy.
It creates a massive problem.
It creates a devastating friction when it interacts with normal reality.
The friction between the perfect secret weapon and the messy reality of the universe.
Exactly.
This brings us to the most chilling section of the text.
The one that really sticks with you.
Yeah, what it designates as the unforgiven burden.
It's a heavy section.
The sheer apocalyptic power of their arsenal and their psychic conduit weapons leads directly to the collateral damage of their existence.
Because they don't fight in a vacuum.
Right. Demonic incursions happen on populated worlds.
They happen in hive cities with billions of inhabitants.
So what happens to the normal people?
That is the dark question.
What happens to the terrified bystanders when the Grey Knights teleport onto the battlefield?
The doctrine mandates a ruthless resolution.
Ruthless is an understatement.
According to the text, the Grey Knights are the most secretive and uncompromising chapter in the entire Imperium.
We are forced to look at the brutal moral mathematics of the 41st millennium.
Their operational parameters dictate that the knowledge of chaos is innately corrupting.
As we discussed with the firewall analogy.
Right. Therefore, they will sacrifice anyone, regardless of their innocence or their loyalty.
Just to maintain that quarantine.
The word anyone does a lot of heavy lifting there.
Oh, absolutely. The text explicitly states they would destroy a planet to save a galaxy.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah, let's look at the scale.
the sheer scale of that utilitarian calculus is almost impossible to parse.
It's mind-boggling.
Destroy a planet isn't a metaphor here.
No, they mean it literally.
We are discussing exterminatus.
The complete atmospheric and biological incineration of a world.
Billions of lives, centuries of history entirely erased.
Let's ground that for the listener for a second.
Good idea.
Put yourself in the shoes of an average imperial citizen.
Just a normal person going about their day.
Imagine you live in a sprawling, densely populated city. Suddenly, the sky tears open, bleeding unnatural colors.
The nightmare begins.
Monsters straight out of ancient mythology pour into the streets.
Pure chaos.
Your local defense forces are butchered in seconds. The reality around you is literally warping.
It's a hopeless situation.
All hope is completely lost. And then, in a flash of teleportation light, these towering silver knights appear.
The cavalry we talked about at the start.
Right. They fight with this blinding supernatural power. They drive back the darkness, they banish the demons, and they save your life.
A literal miracle.
You are huddled in the rubble, weeping with gratitude because the angels of death just delivered you from literal hell.
And then
The knights secure the area, look at you, realize you have witnessed the demonic.
And they systematically execute you and every other survivor in the city.
Because you, knowing they exist, and knowing the demons exist, is deemed a fatal threat to the wider galaxy.
Brutal.
The people who just acted as your ultimate saviors are now your executioners.
It is the ultimate tragic paradox of their function.
I can't think of anything more tragic.
Their actions from the perspective of the survivors are indistinguishable from the actions of the monsters they just defeated.
The annihilation is total either way.
Exactly.
But the text makes a point to say this isn't born out of malice, right?
That's the crucial distinction.
They aren't executing the population because they are cruel or because they enjoy the slaughter.
No. The cruelty is structural, not personal.
Okay, explain that.
They do it because they believe it is a mathematical, biological necessity.
Back to the firewall.
Right. If the corruption of chaos spreads like a conceptual virus, then anyone exposed to the symptoms is fundamentally compromised.
Even if they didn't do anything wrong.
Even if you survive the demonic attack without being physically possessed.
The memory is the problem.
Yes. The memory of the demon is now lodged in your brain.
And that memory is a weak point.
A weak point that the warp can exploit later.
So it's not safe to let them live.
If a whole planet witnesses an incursion, the psychic residue left on that population is a ticking time bomb.
It's just waiting to go off.
To let them live, to let them travel to other worlds and tell stories of what they saw,
Spreading the virus.
is to risk the entire galactic quarantine.
Therefore, the planet must burn.
It's awful, but that's their logic.
I have to question the long-term sustainability of this model, though.
Oh, it's highly questionable.
How many planets can you subject to exterminatus before the galaxy you are allegedly saving is just an empty graveyard?
It's a war of attrition.
If your only solution to saving a house from a termite infestation is to burn down every single room that has a draft,
You won't have a house left.
eventually you're just standing in a pile of ash holding a flamethrower.
Exactly.
You saved the property lines, but you destroyed the house.
The narrative suggests that the Imperium is fully aware of this unsustainability, though.
Oh, they know.
It is a grim holding action. They are not moving toward a victory condition.
So they don't think they can win.
They are desperately trying to buy humanity just one more day of survival.
Wow.
The strategic mindset is entirely focused on delaying the inevitable.
And bearing the weight of that strategy, the daily reality of slaughtering the innocent to protect the abstract concept of humanity.
It takes a massive toll.
It brings us to the final, most profound psychological toll on the Grey Knights themselves.
Yeah, the personal cost.
We see this heavily emphasized in the section labeled A Grey Knight's Testimony.
Very powerful section.
It explores the absolute suffocating paradox they exist within,
The text insists on their absolute purity.
which is confusing given what they do.
They are incorruptible heroes who have never, in their 10,000-year history, turned to chaos.
10,000 years.
Not a single Grey Knight has ever fallen.
That's incredible.
Yet the mechanism of their duty requires them to commit atrocities on a planetary scale.
The source states that they are the ultimate manifestation of the grim darkness.
Because the only way to fight the darkness is to become it.
We really need to unpack the philosophical weight of that phrase. The only way to fight the darkness is to become it,
It challenges the very definition of purity.
because they aren't pure in a moral sense.
The text is clear that they have not fallen to the ruinous powers.
Right.
Their souls are technically unblemished by the warp,
Okay.
but they have entirely forfeited their humanity.
Yes, they have.
They operate with the same level of indiscriminate apocalyptic destruction as the infernal horrors they hunt.
So what does this all mean?
It's a heavy conclusion.
It means they are trapped in a tragic, inescapable loop.
Completely trapped.
The text notes that even pure souls are damned by the burden of duty.
Damned by duty.
They aren't damned because they started worshiping dark gods or craving power.
No, their intentions are pure.
They are damned by the crushing, accumulating guilt of the atrocities they must commit to keep the machinery of the Imperium running.
Guilt is a heavy burden.
It is the profound irony that they're an army of completely pure individuals whose daily job description requires them to act like remorseless monsters.
Toward the innocent citizens they are sworn to protect,
Right.
their purity is entirely functional.
Functional purity. That makes sense.
It is a sterile, operational purity. It is not moral purity in any sense that a philosopher or an ethicist would recognize.
No, a philosopher would be horrified.
They are pure only in the specific, narrow sense that they have not been corrupted by the enemy's ideology.
But in every other dimension.
But in every other dimension of ethical conduct, they are bathed in the blood of billions.
They are an aggressive autoimmune response.
That's a very good way to put it.
An autoimmune response that ruthlessly attacks the host's healthy cells just to ensure the disease cannot find a foothold.
It is a genuinely wild journey through this text.
It really has been.
We started by looking at them as a doomsday contingency.
The Emperor's desperate, paranoid final gift, forged while the galaxy burned.
We examined how they function as an army of psychic warriors,
Walking the razor's edge by using the volatile energy of the warp.
projecting their very willpower as physical ammunition against unimaginable horrors.
And we followed that cold logic all the way to its horrifying, necessary conclusion.
That to keep the galaxy insulated from the true threat,
They must routinely obliterate the innocent bystanders they were created to shield.
it provides a comprehensive breakdown of a truly tragic force.
A weapon that hurts the wielder as much as the target.
But there is one final, lingering question rooted deeply in the paradox of this text that I think warrants careful consideration.
Oh, what's that?
While the source repeatedly insists that the Grey Knights have never turned to chaos.
Right, they are incorruptible.
Yet it also explicitly details that they are forced to commit atrocities, butcher populations, and act in absolute silence to maintain their operational secrecy.
Right. They are the perfect, uncorrupted weapon, but they do horrific things.
But if, as the lore clearly establishes, the warp is an infernal dimension that literally feeds on extreme emotional resonance,
Okay, yeah.
if it is empowered by atrocity, by terror, by sudden violence, and by the mass despair of a dying world,
Wait, are you saying?
could the Grey Knight's ruthless extermination of innocent witnesses actually be feeding the very infernal forces they were created to destroy?
Oh, man.
When they authorize the destruction of a planet, does the psychic shockwave of billions of souls screaming in terror empower the demonic more than the Grey Knight's victory diminishes it?
That is, wow.
Is their pursuit of perfect, uncompromising purity through absolute slaughter just another manifestation of the apocalypse they're so desperately trying to prevent?
That is a terrifying thought.
It's the ultimate paradox.
If the firewall deletes the hard drive, did the virus actually win by forcing you to destroy your own system?
Exactly.
That paradox is definitely something that will stick with me.
Me too.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the grim darkness of the Aegis of Titan.
It's been a pleasure.
I encourage you to keep questioning the nature of heroic sacrifice and maybe look a little closer at the real cost of maintaining your own ignorant peace. Until next time.